We'll call the meeting to order. We've had regrets from 4 councillors: Councillor Dontramont, Councillor Donaldson, Councillor Bork. Boudreau, sorry. Bork is here. Boudreau and Deputy Warden Albright. So we still have the invitation to stand and move. Approval of the agenda in conflict of interest declaration. Now, the agenda is going to be, we have some items here, and due to conflict in scheduling for 4 of our 9 councillors, it appears that the meeting of July 4th will only address items that are urgently required. So I'm going to give a list of items that we can defer. So I would recommend the following be deferred to a future meeting that will be held later this month, date to be determined. Item 7 for decision, defer 7A, 7B, 7C, 7E, 7F, and 7G. And we will look at 7D, 7I, 7K, and 7J. Item 9, no, we're not going to defer item 9. Item 12 in camera will be deferred. So if we could have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. So what that does, the agenda as amended, if there's, unless there's any additions or whatever, if there's no additions, the agenda will stand approved as presented. We have the adoption of minutes, and it's a June 13, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Staff report, department head report, active projects, completed project. There's an attachment. These we see at this meeting every month. It's just it's an ongoing report. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Seeing none. Clerk's report. Clerk is not here. Do you have?
The report is prepared by Julie, our admin assist, and it's a slightly new right now because we had a collection of all sorts of things that were completed, and it started to be really difficult to read if there were things that were still outstanding. So there's 2 reports there now.
Okay.
One is showing the ongoing, and the rest are showing complete. So if you had a question on something that was completed, then you can refer it to there, but then it just saves you time. So most people want to know what's not been done, right? So right. We've got a list, and most of which are new, but some of them are not, and we'd be happy to answer any questions about timing on those.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none. We'll continue. Building permit report. That's an attachment as well. Oh. I wasn't looking at my
right.
computer.
No problem.
I'll put it
It's
on
hard for you to do
where I
both.
can see.
Just a question, just a comment, I guess. And that's quite a bit, the building report. That's huge compared to last year is what I'm probably saying. And probably the gas station, and that's a big part of it. But it's keeping our staff busy, I tell you that. Keep it running. I just want to make that comment. That's huge and a lot of stuff going on in our municipality. Thank you.
Put it over here. Anybody else? Okay, we'll continue. 7-day notice, there is no item under 7-day notice. For decision, the first one is 7D, which is the Pubnico exit sign, and there's an attachment there. As you know, the price has gone up since we had done the budget for this, and right now it looks like we're looking at 18,000 per sign rather than 12,000. So what we would need is about an extra $11,000 for the capital budget to continue this. Councillor Bork.
I would like to make the motion that we do allocate the additional $11,000 for this sign. It's time that it got replaced, so it's not going to get any cheaper.
No.
So I think we should replace it.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go. Oh, okay. I have Councillor Digdon.
Yeah, thank you. The only thing that I don't know if it's been out yet, or if it has, I haven't seen it. Do we know, and I've been asked quite a bit down home about it, do we know what pictures were picked yet to go on the signs?
Councillor staff is aware of the pictures that were selected, and I have to, I'm not sure what we did in terms of putting that on Facebook. I'd have to look at Facebook to see if we did that. If we didn't, we certainly will. And there may be some other ways that we would share that information, especially for those that gave a lot of input. It would be nice to see the end product. I do know that pictures were definitely selected. So let me, we'll take a look at Facebook and see if we did. So, okay, I'm getting a shake. So it was not posted on Facebook.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, so it ought to have been, and it will be.
Okay, yep, no, just asking, that's all, because
Yep.
I've been asked by some residents and that, and told them I'd find out an answer for them. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for pointing that out.
All right, I have Councillor Bork.
Thank you. I had the same question, what's the picture? And as you answered the question. And also, I would like to know do they know when they're going to be putting it up? Will it be up before the Congress or after, or you don't know?
The plan was to have them up before the Congrès. However, we don't know, that timeframe is dependent on the province of Nova Scotia, but they certainly have been made very aware that it has to be done. And I know that I know that we've had discussion about the additional cost, the capital fee. I know that you would have had an email around that, and so we needed some input on that. That was part of the acceleration, right? To make sure that we get this thing moving as quickly as we can. So we got some feedback from you around that as well. The answer is probably. I sure hope so. But they're definitely aware of it and working on it.
Councillor Saulnier.
Thank you, Warden. I might have missed something, but why was there such a price increase? Was the first price not locked in, or I'm just wondering why there's an increase?
That's an excellent question. So the cost of the original cost was quoted almost 4 years ago. So when we started this process, it was quite a long time ago. There was some COVID delays. And of course, with COVID costs escalating, that was another reason. Third reason that we delayed was we got a lot of input from the community about, is this the right picture? We're not sure this represents us. So we went, okay, time out. This is for them. It's not for us. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. And then we went out again for a second competition. So because of the COVID, post-COVID costs and the fact that we knew about this years before, we were never told there would be a cost escalation until we got to the point where it's like, okay, now it's time to produce. And they went, wait a minute, it costs us a lot more to do now. So that's the explanation that was provided to me by our deputy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We voted on that, did we? No. we didn't vote on that because there was discussion. So there's a motion for the public co-exit sign. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, carried. Next one is 7I, which is the voters list, and there's an attachment on that one. 7I. And I guess with the election coming on October 19th, there's a preparation for this election. Council must set a date for when the amended voters list will be ready, as per Section 38(1) of the Elections Act. The date must be no later than the day before candidates can start filing their papers, nomination papers, which is August 29th. Therefore, the returning officer is suggesting August 27th, 2024 as the date for the amended voters list. And the motion would be that the August 27, 2024 be the date for the amended voters list of electors and ready for distribution. Councillor Dickton.
I'll make that motion, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. Brings us to 7K, first reading development agreement for the carpentry shop. So, okay. Oh, we'll go to 7J after for discussion. Sorry, wasn't listed here. It was taken out there, and yeah, we'll do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Warren. So we had the development agreement to permit a carpentry shop at 1006 Argyle Sound Road, Argyle Sound. This was at the last PAC meeting on June 20th. The application was received June 10th, and the sign was placed on the property on June 17th. And then if you go to the next slide, Scott, just shows approximate location on the left, and then at the top right is just a picture of the property, the subject property, and a metal container in which the carpentry shop, the proposed carpentry shop, is to be located at. Application details: the property is about 10 acres. The owners are Sharon Biden's Alistair Coxey. It's a split zone coastal community and mixed zone and coastal wetlands. And the coastal wetlands is located near, on, I guess it would be the western side near the ocean. So there's no development happening there. It's mostly closer to Argyle Sound Road. There's only a single-family dwelling on the property right now, and the 8-foot by 40-foot metal sea container or shipping container is already in place and has a development permit for it. The applicant just wants to convert that container into a carpentry shop, which requires a development agreement. And Department of Public Works also approved the driveway for the carpentry shop commercial use, but no store access, so just for fabrication. The NPS does allow carpentry shops in the coastal community per DA, so council may consider following uses by development agreement pursuant to the requirements of policy 13.14 in coastal community, which is a carpentry shop indicated in the chart. Policies considerations consist with the intent of the coastal community designation to accommodate a wide range of residential, institutional, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and residential uses, managing land use conflicts. The criteria to consider for development agreement conforms to intent NPS and applicable municipal bylaws and regulations. Not premature or inappropriate development. There's the only financial impact on the municipality would be if we would advertise and cost for staff as well. Adequate, there's no sewer connections for this, for the proposed project. It's just a carpentry shop, soil erosions and siltation or water course. There's no disturbance happening for the shop. The storm, everything's on the site is adequate for the operation. We can also control the hours of operation in the DA, so something to keep in mind for noise. Building character and architectural design is compatible with the neighborhood. Won't significantly alter character of the neighborhood. And then proposed development agreement adds carpenter shop permitted on this property in addition to uses already permitted in the coastal community zone. Allows for expansions of uses provided they are within enclosed building and meet LUB requirements. The parking and loading, screening, outdoor equipment, and setback yards, all good. And general terms relate to criteria of the municipal planning strategy policy 13.14 and municipal government act provisions. These are all going to be listed in the development agreement: the lighting, maintenance, nuisance waste, conformance with other regulations, enable variance timeframes, no substantive matters, and amendment process, etc. So the recommendation would be the Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council, one, give notice of motion to consider approval of development agreement to permit carpenter shop at 1006 Argyle Sound Road as set out in attachment A, and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing for the proposed development agreement, which we had agreed to July 25th, 2024. And the process is stated on the board. We already went through the Planning Advisory Committee. It's brought today to the first reading, and if passed, we'll have a public hearing in the second reading on July 25th.
Any questions? Councillor Digdon?
Thank you. So the residents all around that location have been notified about this?
Once it's approved, then we'll go through the process, and all the residents within 100 meters, 100 feet. I'll check the exact distance, but that's when all the residents will get notified.
Okay,
Within, actually, I think it's 152 meters.
okay.
So-
And they will have a chance?
Yep, and then they'll have a chance, it'll be all outlined in the letter saying there's a public hearing, and it'll have the date of the public hearing on there, and they'll be able to participate and comment.
Okay, if I may. And so this is a proposed carpentry shop for that C-can only at this point in time?
Yes, that's correct.
If they wanted to go bigger, they'd have to come back here
Amend the DA.
to ask for an amendment?
You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Surratt?
Yes, Renee, when I read it, it said 100 feet. That's what I thought I read. I'd have to check it again, but I thought it said 100 feet. So really, that would just be the neighbor on one side and the other, and I'm concerned with the whole racket that happened with the ADA, that this is not maybe going far enough. I guess to Councillor Digdon's point. So have you thought about, if I'm right in that 100 feet that I thought I read, have you really thought about maybe going a little further than that? Or we're not required by law?
No, I think if there was 100 feet, I believe that's a typo, because I read before the meeting it was 152 meters.
Okay, my
So-
mistake, my mistake.
I can confirm with you, but
that's okay.
right now, I'm getting the list of addresses for 152 meters from the property line.
That's
So
right.
The whole 10 acres will be measuring out 152 meters from the back, because some of those lots adjoining are split, so they're not one owner all the way to the coast. So there's multiple, I think there's 20 or 30 property owners in that 152 meters, so.
That answers my question. Thanks, Renee.
Anybody else? Okay. I have Glenn, and then I'll go to our CAO.
The only thing I was gonna make the motion, unless you want to say something.
I can say it after a motion.
Okay, yeah. I'd make the motion that we at least get this going for
The first
for the
reading.
applicants, the first reading.
Okay.
And that way, the building officials will be able to do their work as well.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Need a seconder. Moved and seconded. If there's, okay, CAO.
So the 152 meters in feet, I can confirm I'm pretty sure it's meters. That's the minimum distance. So the municipality must do that, but it may go further and that will depend on how far 152 meters actually is. Sometimes when you're in a very, very remote community, you could go to 500 meters and it'd still be the same people, right? So we can take a look at that. We'll take a look at how many properties are impacted by that. The decision to go further also is impacted by the risk of the development. Like, is the development in fact something that is noxious or has particular nuisances? At that point, you might get a recommendation from us to say we should go a little further. In this case, because it's contained, like literally contained in a container, there would be a low risk of that. Though, so what we do in every development, we assess the risk of every development has a nuisance. Every development has a nuisance. There's always something that happens that people may be annoyed by. So whether it's noise or operating in the middle of the night or smell. So what we do in each of these is that we assess the probability of those things happening, and we make sure that those are listed in the development agreement. So your role as council is to make sure we got that right. So we will go through the development agreement with you. What you've motioned to do is starts the process, right? It does not make a decision. It opens the transparency of the process. So it is to get that public hearing in. If it's benign, you often won't hear much, right? But the opposite is also true. You might hear a lot if the people around there feel like it is invasive in some way. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background there. I'm sure the expert in the room could say more.
Yeah, I can confirm it is 152 meters in there. That reaches out to 21 different properties. And we did get 2 phone calls just to inquire what the sign was, because the sign was placed, and probably a week after we got phone calls just requesting information. Once we told them carpentry shop, there was no other feedback.
Councillor Saunier.
Thank you. I like the nature of the questions here. Guy brought it up, and I think anytime, in this particular case, it's a small enterprise, so it's not huge, it's nothing like the ADA. But I think we've kind of learned a lesson, and I think we should always look at the pros and cons, and appears that's what we're doing right now, and make sure that we have all the information to ensure that we don't miss anybody in anything. And so I like the way this is going. Just a comment, thank you.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, we have a motion on the floor for the first reading of the development agreement for carpentry. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. ADA discussion and update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can do this rather quickly. We did have a meeting not so long ago. I do have information to update, and I'm sure you may have questions or concerns or comments. So first of all, this has been made clear to people who have asked the question directly, but for those who have not heard, we have 53 sites that are pre-assessed sites. These are sites that have been, analyzed in all sorts of different ways by the provincial government. Our role was to navigate with mostly the water users around the area to make sure that they understood what was happening or what could happen. The ADA is a tool that we have been involved in for sure, in doing a lot of pre-assessed work so that when people are looking to get into an oyster farming situation, that there are areas that have been pre-assessed by scientific measure, wildlife, navigation, et cetera. So you're all well aware of that, I know, but public may not know that, so I just want to go on record to say it. So the second part around that is that the ADA has not created any more power or more authority than what the province had before. It's just a different way of pre-assessing locations. There's nothing stopping Farmer Guy Surette to put in an application in a non-ADA pre-assessed location. He will just have to wait a lot longer to get that location assessed. So the waters of many places in the province are classified to be eligible for oyster or shellfish development, I should say. It's not just oysters. There are no classifications for finfish. That's not a discussion. There are 6 sites that the province led to a request for proposal. So the request for proposal is simply, are you interested in being a farmer in this location? That's a really simplistic way of saying this is what happened. I've personally seen the application forms. They are not complicated. There's no detail associated with, like, it's not a lease application, right? It's like, Councillor Sonia is interested in this particular area, and he's going to do this, this, and that. So very high level. The province received, we didn't receive, but we received word that 14 applicants submitted an interest for the 6 sites, and what we also know is that all 6 sites received an interest. That does not mean that all 6 sites have been approved. That doesn't mean that. It just means that all 6 sites received an interest to pursue. The province then takes those, and in some cases there's competition, right? Because if you've got 14 applications for 6, there's more than one for some locations, right? Clearly. So they have to isolate which one might be more presentable, I guess, than the other. They have a process; it's theirs entirely, and then at that point they will make a decision to continue with, the winner of the interest. Okay, and then what happens is they'll have 90 days. The applicant, the winning applicant, will have 90 days from that day. Excuse me. To put in an actual lease application. Why 90 days? Well, I mean, if there's money involved, like businesses have to do a business plan, there's all sorts of reasons why they would require 90 days. So I can't give the exact dates of when this would happen, but it would be a good guess to say by the end of the month of July into early August, they may announce how many of these applicants are going into the next round, okay? That would give them 90 days, so that would be all of August, all of September, and all of October before they would submit an actual lease application. So this is just a guess. You have to be I want to be very clear about this. These are estimates, and because it's not our process. And it does depend on the amount of people that are interested in applying. So if there was 1, it would be a lot faster than if it was 14. So once that 90 days expire and they have an actual application, that's in or around the time where your 30-day public consultation occurs. So that would be on the 6 sites that we see on the provincial map and that the province has put out for application. None of that relates to the remaining 48 sites. And the province has made this announcement. I don't know how public it is. Sometimes it's hard to get out to everyone, but they have zero interest in opening up any additional leases at this time. They have heard the community and have heard some of the residential concerns, which the focus was more on the people using the water, not necessarily the people seeing the water. So they said, we understand, we hear, and we obviously as a council have had numerous conversations with the province about this. It's like, look, we need to pause this. We need to take a look at this a little deeper. So the province, again, it's their baby, right? So so they agreed. And so what we're in the midst of doing is, with the province, is planning. We're trying to plan how best to bring more information to residents over the remaining sites. There's 2 streams going on right now. There's the 6 sites that we still don't know much about, but we've also got the 47 that we know where they are, and we know that they're not anywhere near any sort of application. So we should have plenty of time to bring the scientists, to bring other resources to the community, to have information provided to the people that are interested in knowing. Because with something new, there are a lot of fears, and we want to make sure that we understand the legitimacy of some, and that we might, and when I say we, it's mostly the province, that the province, but we work with them, right? So it's where the province would have all those experts to say, well, actually this yes, that's a good point. No, that doesn't happen, and kind of go through the process face to face, so that people can get the information from the right source, right? Because we can say what we want, but we're not the scientists that looked into it, and they have that in their repertoire. So we haven't set any dates on that just yet. We, in other news, the province is probably 24 to 48 hours away from a report on the scientific process that they put out. This is a very common question that we've heard from our community. It's like, how did you find these locations? Like, did you throw them in a box and pick one out of a hat? Like, what is it? Did you use a dartboard? So, and I don't mean to make light of it, but it's just like and that's a legitimate question. So the province is has taken their good old time to kind of make sure they got it right. Like, this is what we did step by step by step. And so that report will be out soon. We have answered many, but not all questions. There's still some outstanding questions. We've received information from the province on, we've asked specific questions of them, and they've answered. We have that now. So we're just about ready to if there are residents that still didn't get it that came to us, they'll get that information. So there will be some further public engagement on the 47 for sure. And that will likely involve the municipality because we're closest to the people. There will be a public engagement on the 6 sites for sure, but that will be managed by the province, not by us, because they have a process to which people can submit their complaints or concerns. And so we've made that rather clear, we hope, on our, in our information and in some of our posts. We make sure that, this is how it is, this is how it works. Last thing on that is the province has put out a document that outlines the process of the excuse me, the process of how the 6 sites, how will that work? So they have a step by step process there as well. It's in writing, and that's equally able to be distributed. So that was a lot of information. I fed it to you with a fire hose, but I just want to assure that the public engagement, this is a pilot project. This has never been done anywhere, which means that there are always ways to do things differently and better. We know that we can benefit from further public engagement, and the province has made it very clear that that's what they're going to do. The 6 are different than the 47. They said that. It's their process, right? But at the end of the day, if whatever information we get on the remaining ones that didn't go yet to request for proposal, I'm certain that they will have some form of influence or add value and flavor to understanding, A, whether the site is in fact appropriate, and B, what's the order upon which we do this work? Is there a way to do this better? And C, just understanding, making sure that the residents understand that not all 53 sites are going to be filled. This is more of going, it's like going to the restaurant, right, and seeing the menu. Well, you don't order everything on the menu, right, but you order the things that you prefer. So the question, so I think the other job that we have, I guess, with the province is to say, okay, how much is enough? Because we can't, there was nobody's intention to have 53 sites scattered all over Lobster Bay and and Pubnico Harbor, et cetera. That was not the intention. But the intention was to provide options for people to look at. So how much is enough? So I think the residents deserve to hear that. They need to know it's not going to be 53. They need to know with certainty that it's going to be less based on time. So that was a long report for somebody who wasn't sure I was going to be in the position to have a meeting here today. But that's and I'm open to any questions or comments or any concerns that you might have that are lingering from this process.
Councillor Surratt.
Yes, thank you, Alan. I know a lot of people from my district are listening, and there was a great explanation, whether they like it or not. You said it like it. What do you do? One of the questions that I have, and if this puts you on the spot where you don't have the answer, our next meeting is fine. And one of the questions is that on the 6 or 7 chat groups I've got, is that, okay, Surratt's Island, there's 2 sites there. We're at the end of the sticks, like they say. We're at the end of the sticks, and they're saying, how in the world did 2 sites get picked in Surratt's Island and Westport never got any? So they were asking that. I said, I wasn't there. So we did get a report from the Department of Fisheries. And on the answer on number 16 was, which was whoever got those answers, which was sent to some people that had asked the question. In other words, I'm straggling a little bit here, but what happened, somebody sent some paperwork with a whole whack of questions. The municipality answered the questions we could, our department. Then finally Fisheries sent the next questions that the municipality couldn't answer. Well, some of the people that got that spread that around, those answers to other people. So comes to my question, which the people on my chat groups are asking. On number 16, it said, from Department of Fisheries, it said, to choose the 6 sites, which comes to the question my people are asking, the 2 in Surratt's Island. Municipality of Argyle was in partnership with the Department of Fisheries to pick these sites. So, it's written, I've got it all. I mean, it was passed on to myself, CC to myself from Kyle, Public Works. He's the one that sent the answer. So I've seen the answer. And it says plainly from Department of Fisheries, Municipality of Argyle, in partnership with DFA, chose the 6 sites. Or in discussion. I better watch that word. Maybe not in partnership. In discussion with, that's how the 6 sites were chosen. So I'm not only saying the 2 sites in Surratt's Island, but those 6 sites, it seems, but it doesn't seem, it says it right on the paper, that we were partners in that decision.
Right.
So
we
if
were
you
not.
don't know the answer, we can.
No, I do know the answer. We were not a partner to the selection of the 6 sites. We, in fact, did not know which 6 sites were chosen until they were announced on the 15th. Now, what we were involved in was constant conversation, I would say. Constant might be a heavy word. Regular conversation with members, particularly of the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture and other departments such as CMAR, and there may have been Department of Fisheries there as well, to have discussions about the data, and also in identifying areas that were less ideal. So there were certainly areas on the map that were eliminated because of the work that came out of the public engagement process, the work that came out of water stakeholder processes. There were 6, 7, 8, I can't remember exactly how many, but there were quite a few that were eliminated because somebody raised an issue or somebody said, okay, well, that's a traditional fishing area, and so those things did impact the elimination of sites. Yeah. The selection of the 6 was the decision of the Department of Aquaculture. I don't know even if the Department of Fisheries was involved in that decision or not. What I would like to do in order to get to the bottom of this is to bring this to the attention of the Department of Aquaculture and Fisheries and have them comment on this as to why this comment would be made. We were certainly lockstep in looking at, you know, like, we saw the process where there were like, you know, 58 or 60 or whatever it was, and then how it came down and where the analysis happened. And we were involved with all of that. We were involved in terms of being informed, but we had no way to do that because the data is all like, okay, scientific, it's all provincial data. So we would have known about it, but we would not have been able to select 6. We were involved in the elimination to the point where we had draft sites. We were definitely involved with that. We did not select them, but we certainly had a part in saying, okay, well, based on what you've done, let's go talk to people to make sure that there isn't a conflict or whatever. And we're now understanding that for some of the 47, that there certainly might have been information that was not conveyed to the province, which is why we said, we want a timeout, and the province said, yes, we agree. So I would love to see that information, and I can do an internal look, because the only person that would have been employed here, there's only one person that would have been employed here outside of myself that would have known about this. And so they may have known information, but the selection itself is not us.
Right on.
And I mean, that's unfortunate that information was.
I'll send you that
Please
number
do.
16, I will send
Yeah,
you that.
please do, and we will get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
if there's truth in the statement, we'll also get to the bottom of this.
Right on. No question there. If I may, a second question would be, if, I know this is hypothetical question, but if council so decided, could we send a letter to DFA and ask for a pause on the 6 sites? Or it's not our process?
It's not our process, but there's nothing stopping council from making a decision to that effect. We did actually have that conversation probably, I don't know, month and a half ago. It is entirely in the ability of council to approve a letter to that nature. What the province will do with that letter, because it's their process, that's a different story. I would caution against a motion tonight, only because you are missing 4 people. I think there needs to be more information that is distributed, that we don't want to necessarily, and I mean this not disrespectfully, we don't want to make an emotional decision on this. We want to get the data. Let's take the emotions out of this for a second and have a look-see. I can ask the department to see what their response might be in this kind of situation, but it would be up to the majority of council to make that motion. I would caution against the motion for a second reason, is that you have approved this process from the beginning. And I'm not saying that you've approved the outcome, right? That's not what I'm saying, because you didn't approve the map. The map was approved by the province. But the process itself is something that you would have endorsed. So if you feel like something was awry or afoot, and the majority of you feel very strongly about that, then you can certainly make a motion, and staff will do what council says. But we can't guarantee a result.
Yeah. Thank you, that's all I had. I appreciate, Alain,
You're welcome.
your answers. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Councillor Saunier.
Thank you. Alain, has there been any consideration or discussion on access points? Example, there's 53 sites, assuming the worst or the best, depending on what side of the road you're standing. But if all 53 sites were made usable and they were all independent, where are all these people going to unload and load? Where are they going to be working from? There are many sites in Plymouth of concern that are dormant as we speak. They used to be old wharfs, and they're right-of-ways now. Those sites are dormant, and people would not want them to move or even come close to operating in those sites. If you were to put all these access point at a lobster wharf, you're probably starting to crowd out some fishermen. That's true. So has there been any consideration on that?
The municipality has not had any consideration on that because this would be a provincial matter. But I know that the province would have considered as part of the process the location of wharves for two reasons. One is access to the water, but also to not block the wharves from what they're doing, right? So your point is valid. As it relates to the Plymouth locations, I'm very familiar with those locations. The only two options that it would have, one of them has been burnt down. It was the old Plymouth Wharf that's been burnt, and I believe we own that. To be honest, we may have sold it. I'd have to look. Don't quote me on that, but we at some point owned it. The second would be probably the tuna wharf, not the tuna wharf, the opposite, the commercial fishing wharf in Wedgeport. There wouldn't be any other points of access on that peninsula, to my knowledge.
Well, there was that piece of land that, on Green Acres that I call, that is owned by the municipality.
Correct.
It's a launch point, and they were kind of concerned about that. And there's also the right-of-way that goes down Sandra Boudreau's driveway. That is, I call it a dormant right-of-way because no one basically uses it except the landowners.
Yeah. I can't comment on the second one. I can comment on the first one, that council could, at this or another meeting, just simply make a motion for staff to restrict the use of that land. It's your land. People can't just crouch and use people's lands, and it was never the intention for that location to be anything other than a residential send-off, and we've never really invested a lot of money, time, or energy in that location at all. It's basically a green space. So council could, if it was in any way fearful that that somebody would change their minds, I mean, you own that land. So you could certainly make a motion to either restrict the use of that land. We could look at the land use and see if there's a restriction right in the zoning. I don't know that answer today. That's probably considered a coastal community, and so there are limits to what you can do on a coastal community zone. So why don't we look into that? If that's a concern, we might be able to eliminate it simply by saying, look, you can't do that there. You just can't. And if you can, then council has the right to undo that if it wishes, because it's your land. And well, actually, I mean, you can do zoning changes on land that you don't own. In fact, that's one of the powers that the municipality has. But you have double power in this instance because you actually own the land.
So, to expand just a bit and go back to a commercial wharf, let's use a breakwater wharf in Wedgeport. Most boats have wharfage. They have to pay wharfage, they have to pay usage. Would the ADA aquaculture people have to do the same? How would that work?
Absolutely. They'd follow the rules of the small craft harbor or whomever is operating the facility. They would be subject to the rules of that organization. The fact that it's an oyster farmer or a marine plant farmer would not change that at all.
Okay. Thank you.
And honestly, on the properties in question in Plymouth, I don't, there's nothing, we can't really comment as to where somebody might ship out of or how many might ship out of, because until you see a lease application, until you actually see something like that, it's the applicant that produces that plan. So, yeah, so is it an issue in terms of like overcrowding in certain instances? I believe that it is, and that might discourage certain farmers from using that particular facility. But we are not interested. There's nothing indicating that we have an interest to change the use of our land for that purpose. None whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Surratt.
I just wanted to add to what Alain was saying. The Hummers Point group that owns the wharf that was built, Danny, you know which wharf in the back road there? They own the wharf that's been burnt in Plymouth. I know that for a fact. There was an issue there a few years back that somebody from Westport had called me on.
They did own it, but I don't think they own it anymore.
Oh, is that, this was maybe 5, 6 years ago, okay. Maybe they got rid
That's
of
why I
it.
think it might have come to us.
Yeah, I don't remember, I'd have to go back and look. I know we either own it or we're owning it. So I know that for a fact. I feel like there was a transfer of ownership, and it may have gone to and from. So my memory, I'd have to look into it, and I
think
will.
something took place that they wanted to get rid of it. Yeah. Okay, we're okay with that. Brings us to correspondence. And the first one is a 12-month notice letter to NSFM. There's an attachment. And every time there's going to be anything that's going to affect municipalities, whether financially, they have to give a 12-month notice that this is going to happen. Any questions on that one? The next one, expanding qualifying expenditures for the Canada Community Building Fund. Just extend some of the funds that may be available. Correspondence from the Armid Hospital Foundation, continued support. We support, they send these letters out, and they have, I get them personally, I get them through here, and they're looking for funds. We usually support them during their radiothon. We usually do that. When they had the gala, we always supported them. So I don't know if this is something that we want to look at, but it doesn't have to be done today. It's just something that they do on a regular basis. Correspondence from Waste Check, brush cutting concerns. That came to the municipality, came from Gus Green. Councillor Saulnier.
Hi, so I assume you've all read the letter from Waste Check. I've had a few complaints about exactly that, and that was brought up at the meeting. And, you know, the letter is written, I'd say, correctly, and it explains everything. However, I just have to add that it adds danger, doesn't relieve it. If someone even falls in the ditch, you can get impaled by one of these branches that's left, and some of them are still protruding from the trees. It's ugly, it's dangerous, it blocks the ditches, it prevents people from from picking garbage, especially older guys like me. Anyhow, I recommend that we write a letter of support. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bork.
Yes, thank you. I agree with you, Ted. I remember picking up garbage a few years back, and one of the ladies that was picking up garbage, her eye got poked in one of these branches that was sticking out, yeah. So it's dangerous, yeah. So we want to clean up, but yeah, there's a danger there.
They're not asking us to do anything at this point. They're just giving their concerns. Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. I honestly don't know. I'm glad we received this letter, and I'm definitely going to be watching the ditches from now on see what's going on in some areas. I don't know if it's all the public works that is cutting these branches and leaving them in the ditch. The reason I say that is sometimes you'll see companies clearing branches and trees away from the power lines or the lines that go above. I'm not saying power, I've said power, but it could be also other lines that go above. And sometimes you see what they cut remain there. So I'm not sure, if it's just the if it's just the Department of Public Works that they may be looking at, or maybe others as well. Thank you.
Okay. So the other one is Western County Regional Library, the Library Report newsletter. Yarmouth County, oh, I see, Councillor.
Did we have to make a motion to write this letter?
It didn't ask for a letter.
Okay.
I can look again. It says, WestJet passed a motion to write to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. They were just giving us what they've done, I guess.
Okay.
Concern raised over their brush cutting practices on secondary roads. A copy of the letter is attached to this correspondence. A second motion was unanimously passed and instructed me to write to our member municipal units and ask them to review our concern and to also write. There is a request. Sorry, I missed that.
So I'll make that motion.
Okay? It's moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, carried. It was there. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, the Yarmouth County Community Health Board report. Municipal Planning Strategy Notice. And Fire Service Review. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So there's no attachment to this because there's nothing to attach. Okay, yeah, you want me to talk long? Yeah, so the warden is, so we can't make a decision because there's only 4 of you, so you can't even decide to quiet me down. Well, you can still tell me. You can tell me to quiet down, I just won't listen. I just wanted to give you an update on where we are with the study. So the study's been finalized, we haven't received it. And we were asking a couple of questions about certain things that we have to do. I'm going to read you what Seahawk Service has shared with me, and this is going to end up being a question. I'm happy to let you know that each department binders and electronic USBs are completed. I've also started a draft 20-year capital plan with each department's apparatus and equipment. So there's a lot of work there. Now for the next steps. If you choose to have us back to deliver the final product, we recommend having a half-day workshop with council and yourself, staff. Before the workshop, we recommend meeting with all fire chiefs to review reports and discuss next steps. Depending on when you would have us back, it would be a great opportunity to have a 2-day training session called Leadership Essentials, if we can fit it in. This would be for any members that are in a supervisory role, and presumably fire supervisory role. Please let me know if you have any questions, what you think about delivery. If you can, I can send the binders. Please let me know. And they're giving us an option to come back. And I can tell you that the budget did contemplate this. We did contemplate them coming back because it's only going to be the cost of the travel, like you've already paid for the report. So it would be a second trip. It would only be 1 or 2 people. It wouldn't be the whole crew, so it would be a lot less expensive. My feeling is that this is a very, very important step for council to understand what they've done, for staff to understand their role, and to see the fire department's whites of their eyes and see what they have to say about all of this. This is a real good opportunity to have the 3 groups band together and say, okay, this is what we're going to do or not do, and have them ask direct questions about, what's the municipality intending on doing. Because a lot of these things that are going to come out of this are going to depend on the municipality's leadership, either financial or HR, right? For example, if we have work to do on occupational health and safety, we're more likely going to do that on behalf of the 9 units. We're not going to get Chief Boucher and Chief LeBlanc sitting in a room, and they're already volunteers, they're already up at their limit. Like, so we would do that for them, but we would require their guidance. That's just one example of the work that might have to be done. And that doesn't even comment on what the funding looks like over the next 20 years, et cetera, et cetera. So the question in this email is basically, do you agree that this is the right approach to have a second presentation to the 9 units, council, and relevant staff? That's really the question. So before answering her, I wanted your guidance on that.
Councillor Dickton.
Thank you. I feel as though if we don't have them back for a chat with council and for a chat with the people in our supervisory roles at the fire departments and the chiefs, we've went 70% as far as what we said we were going to do, and we're letting the other 30% go. I feel as though they've came up with the report, they made the report, they best know what the guidelines would be from here to go with as a council and with the fire department. So I'd be 100% in favor of getting them back. We all know that there's going to be changes. I've been talking with some of the firefighters from down home. We know there's changes coming. The only thing I feel as though some changes may come rather quickly, but others may have to take some time because we are working, again, with volunteers. These people are giving up their time to help come out and protect the community at times of need, and we have to respect that as well. But I'm all in favor of getting them back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Board.
Thank you. Basically the same thing as Glenn, I guess. You said it. I think it's important that they come back and that we listen to what the 20-year plan they have. I think it's time to sit down and snap our bretelles and say, put our big pants on and say, okay, this is what we've got to do, and we've got to save our fire departments are key in our municipalities, so without our fire departments. So I strongly agree that we make them come back.
Okay. Councillor Surratt.
I guess I agree with my co-councilors at the AMFFA, Argyle Municipal Firefighters Association meeting, spoke candidly with some of the fire chiefs outside while they were having a smoke, and you know what? They're looking for this. They're actually looking for, okay, here we all got our reports. Each independently got their reports of what their departments were like. And like it or not, they know they need changes. And they want to know, they're interested to know how is it going to work? They don't have a clue. And I said, council doesn't have a whole lot of a clue either in a sense, but as I said, I know we have to meet together and work together to make this work, to make it work. So I certainly be in favor of moving forward with Seahawk. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
The only thing I was going to ask our CAO was that funding already allocated for them to come back, or do we need a motion to have them back and some extra funding?
I would say that a motion to bring them back is the right thing to do, even if you've got the budget money aside for it, and you do. But of course, we don't know the actual cost, so actual may differ. So I don't think it's going to differ, considering it could be less than what we have there. I don't have a price. But I think it's the first step is, what is your intentions? And I think that you've been, from the conversation, I believe that your intentions are to bring them back. And I would say that a motion to that effect, what it would give us as staff is to understand we are going to do it. And if the cost is a little higher than we have in the budget, you've already authorized it. So then we would be informing you that, hey, you're off by 1,000. And that's what it would be. Like, it's not a big difference because we've already factored in, I don't recall exactly how much it was, but it was in probably the $2,000 to $3,000 range in anticipation of travel costs. Knowing that the travel costs were a little bit more than that for twice the amount of people, I think that's a reasonable number. And again, that will depend on timing and flights and.
Yeah. I'd be willing to make that motion,
Okay.
that we get these people back.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. So that covered the fire service review. Financial requests. We're going to do district at a time. The only difference, I think, I thought there was 2 for District 7.
It's been changed.
It's been changed because there was one that was 500 and.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been amended.
It's been amended. Okay, District 1, that's my district, only one patchwork paths for an amount of $700. Someone can move that, I can't.
I'll make the motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. District 3, suggested motions to approve the district community grants in the amount of $700 for the following organizations. Festival Acadien de Wedgeport, le Club des Acadiens Seniors de Wedgeport, Wedgeport Nature Trail Committee, Wedgeport Tuna Museum, Société d'Héritage Acadien de Wedgeport. And Councillor Sonia make that motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Need a seconder? Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Oh, yours is coming next, is that it? No,
Yeah.
you have a
No,
question?
no, it's coming next, and I just want to comment on something that's
Yes?
on there. It says, and it's nobody's fault, it just says $700 to the following organizations, but actually it's $500 for the Surrey Island Betterment Committee, $500 for the Events Committee, $500 for Twin Village, $500 for Paraba Seniors, $700 for St. Joseph Cemetery. So where it said on the line,
Okay, they're not all seven.
They're-
I
yeah.
thought I had seen yours for 5.
5.
We'll have to
except-
make 2 motions.
Oh, okay, yes.
We'll make 2 motions. We'll make the motions for the 7, then we'll make a motion for the 5.
So I so move that we, St. Joseph Cemetery for $700.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, carried. The next 4, I guess, is for 700, and it's Ridge Island.
No, it's
Better-
500.
Oh, 500, sorry. Yeah,
It's
yours
all
was
right.
700, was 500. Surrey Island Betterment Committee, Events Committee of Club Social des Îles, Twin Village Social Club, and Paraba Seniors Club.
So move.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. District 7, $700 for the following: Immaculate Conception Cemetery, East Side Community Center, East Public Improvement Committee.
I'll make the motion.
Moved. Need a seconder? Moved and seconded by Councillor Sonia. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. District 9, motion for $700 for the following: St. Anne de Rousseau New Horizons, Le Village Historique La Nouvelle-Écosse. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Oh, okay, no, I thought I saw another one, but it's not. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. The next one is a projet de film for the CMA. This is something that we had brought up at the last meeting, and they are looking for $5,000 for this film that he's making. It's a Phil Comeau, who's asking for this. And we brought it up and we said we would discuss it at this meeting. I know Claire has given them the $5,000. And I guess it's up for discussion at this point. Okay, I have I had Councillor Sonia. Try it again. Councillor Sonia, go ahead.
I had written myself a note here on that, and I'll have to, I buried it. So the municipality has already gave 250,000 of funding towards the Congra, correct?
Yes, but this is something totally different.
But isn't it done during the Congra?
He's doing it during the Congress. He's doing it, yes, during the Congress. He's going to film, it's more like not just entertainment, but arts and whatever, right? This is not going to come out during the Congress. This will only come out later on in the year. But it'll showcase our municipality and the talents and whatever that's out there in our municipality. Not just ours, Clare and Argyle. So,
So we're asked to give the equivalent of that Claire gave, the $5,000.
yes, his budget, oh, that's not on that one. Yeah, it would have been on that one. Pardon me? I don't believe it's on this email. Maybe not,
No,
it might
I don't
not be
think
on
so.
this one.
My question, I got several questions on that. I'm wondering if we're getting the equivalent service or coverage as Claire would be going. Is it a balanced deal here? Second, there's mention of it being beneficial in terms of tourism. And I question that a little bit because it is not bilingual. It is French with English caption. If you're going to, if you're leaning towards tourism, I think maybe there should be a bilingual side to this to make it completely beneficial as far as I'm concerned. I wrote myself a couple there. I had a couple more questions, but I buried it. But though, is there an answer to those two questions?
I don't have them.
Yeah.
I read the same thing as what you're reading, so. On the email that he had sent me, I can find the email, okay? If you want to bear with me. Phil, come on. Project de film.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
It was embedded, it wasn't in the attachments, it was actually in the email itself.
yes.
Tel que mentionné, voici un ajout des documents. Okay, as discussed, 72,000 the total budget, 30,000 confirmed from Province of Nova Scotia, Independent Cinema, 12,000, SNA, Société Nationale de l'Acadie, 5,000, a local business, 4,000, another local business, 4,000, so total 55. And then, of course, Claire would have said yes, so that would be 60, so then that would leave 12,000 yet to be funded.
Yes, right.
I don't have any evidence or any other information to suggest, because our 5 they'd still be short of that number, so maybe this is another business that he's contemplating.
Okay,
The ultimate
Here-
question to
here
me,
it-
are we getting,
here it
are we
is.
getting our money's worth out of this?
it says, il y aura aussi une version anglaise du film. French with English subtitles.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
so the
and, you
film
know-
itself only going to be French, but there will be English subtitles that people can read.
Yeah. I understand what he's doing. I understand kind of how, but I'm wondering if, if we're going to benefit. Is it money well spent,
Right,
period?
okay. I have Councillor Bork.
So if this is something that's to showcase our area, so it's tourism, has Yasta been contacted to sponsor this? They're the people that are
Yeah.
taking
According,
care of our tourism in our area, so I think it should be a part of their project. Money should be coming from them, because we're paying them, and I think that's where some of this money should be coming from.
yeah, they haven't asked, not according to where his money's coming from.
So, and I just want to ask one
Yeah.
more question. So if we did go for this, for the 5,000, would this come out from what kind of fund? Would it be coming from, like, same where we pay Yasta, or
Well,
from a
that would
tourism
be-
thing, or
That would be an answer.
promotional thing, or?
That would be an answer from our CAO. I'm not sure where the money would come from.
The money would come from one of two sources because it's not budgeted. So it would come from either the fact that we've saved money in another area, that we could say that during the year we had a surplus and we allocated a part of that to this amount, or we could say that it came out of reserve. This would fall outside of your grants to organizations requests. It's clear why, because of the nature of what it is. Your policies doesn't really address this that well unless you would fall under an extraordinary event, because it's a one-time thing that you could say is for or benefits Argyle. That's what the rules say. So you could, while it wouldn't land in the traditional grant to organization due April 15th that we've all been used to seeing, it would fall under the definition of an extraordinary grant if council chooses to do so. That doesn't change the fact that it isn't budgeted. So again, it would come from another source. Hopefully, if we have a surplus, we would take it from current year. If not, we would have to take it from the reserves for 5,000. Yeah, that's all I can say about where the money would come from.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you very much. I personally feel as though that we, as a municipality, put a lot of money into the CMA ourselves. We put more than the 250,000 when you look at it. Some of the banners and all that's cost us extra. I'm hoping that the CMA will sell itself for our area down here. This will only be coming out after the fact, and so it will do nothing, or not, it definitely will not sell the CMA for this area.
No?
And
That's not what it's meant to do.
No.
Because it's something that he films. What does he say? Our name will be credited in the film. We'll see in version, please. Basically, what he says, he had explained exactly what he was going to do. Maybe it's in here, but, yeah.
And I agree 100% with Councillor Bork that it'd be better, I'd rather let Yasta sell our area and for tourism all that than just get our name be credited in his titles or whatever, myself.
Councillor Surratt.
I remember talking here about, it might be 3-4 months ago now, that some families wanted to didn't have very much money to get set up in their communities to do some activities for people coming from outside to come in their communities. And I remember speaking, that maybe a little bit of a grant of maybe 250, 500, we could do something like that, but there was not very much interest around the table on that because we had paid the 250,000 already. So to me, to go here and throw $5,000 into something which I didn't realize that Councillor Sonia brought up was only going to be in French. We would have thought it'd be in both languages, because that's who comes down. We have people from both sides of the language barrier to come here. So, you know, I'd rather pass this on to Yasta also.
Okay. What he's saying is the film will document 10 jeunes, des artistes d'origine acadienne qui participent à la résidence d'artistes pendant la Popular Congrès mondial. He will do that during the Congrès, there's no doubt. It's not a Congrès function, it's a function in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not part of, it. He's doing this on his own, then he broadcast or whatever this film. So, anyway, that's entirely up to council. Either way, I would ask for a motion to either accept or reject so that I can let him know.
So can we make a negative motion, or so do we can make a negative motion?
It's not negative.
No, it is, if I make a negative motion, it will
Or you
be.
say that we don't approve, don't
It would be a motion to deny.
to deny.
And there
It's a
is-
motion to deny
That is
that,
an appropriate motion.
Okay.
To accept, I'm not judging, just.
Yeah, no, years ago, they used to say you couldn't make a motion to reject, that you had to make a motion to accept, and everybody vote against it. That's all.
Oh, that is sometimes true.
yeah.
I just want to make sure before I make this motion.
I heard that,
If you're making a denial motion, you're go ahead and do it, sir. You're all set.
And that I make a motion, and that we go along with the $5,000.
That we give him 5,000?
But then what you have to do is everybody has to reject it if they don't want to go with it.
But you can deny.
misunderstanding.
You can make a motion.
Can you make a motion to deny?
Yes, yes, you can.
Okay, because years ago you couldn't, you had to make a motion to accept, and everybody voted to deny it, including the person making the motion. But I will make a motion to deny the $5,000.
I'll second that one.
That's already do it.
Yeah, and that is a good motion. I think what you're thinking of is when a motion has been decided already, sometimes there are different rules that are at play. In this case, there has been no decision yet, so you can absolutely make this motion. It is a legal motion.
Just wanted to make sure I was
Yeah,
doing it right.
and look, there's all sorts of nooks and crannies around Robert's rules, but you're good.
Okay.
So, all those in favor?
Is there a second?
Yeah, Kathy.
All those
Counselor
in
Bork.
favor?
I just have a comment. I could vote yes, I could have voted yes on this and backed it up if it was bilingual. I find that Argyle, being an Acadian, we still have a lot of English-speaking people in our communities, and it should be bilingual. It should not just go to Quebec and New Brunswick and France. It should go, if you're going to deal with tourism, everywhere. And that can only be done if you're bilingual, and that's my biggest complaint, and therefore I support the no motion. Thank
So,
you.
all those in favor? Contrary-minded, I'm going to vote against, which means I would have voted yes for the, okay? So, does mine overrule everybody? No.
On July's 3rd and 5th.
Not on July the 4th.
So motion to deny is accepted. Accepted means we deny. Okay, so,
You went from ward there to somebody like the president sometimes.
which one?
I'm not saying a word on that one.
Oh, wrong. So that takes us to agenda topics for next meeting and notice of motion by councillors. Were there any questions? No questions. I see a negative there. We're not, the in-camera session has been, we will deal with that in the next meeting. And with this brings us to the adjournment. Thank you very much. Glenn, go ahead.